Thank you for joining us. I'm just going to pause for a moment to let everyone log on to the webinar and join, but we're happy to have you here and we will get started shortly. All right. I think we'll get started. Good morning and welcome everyone to this session offered by the Toronto District School Board Center of Excellence for Black Student Achievement. We are excited to have with us today, this morning, renowned storyteller Itah Sadu to share with us her new book, I Am Big, and to continue on sharing some stories about the rich histories that are often untold that celebrate African Canadians and the diaspora. You can see on the screen that our session today will be recorded, and you can find it on our Center of Excellence internal website following this session next week. Live transcriptions have also been enabled, so please click on your Zoom toolbar below so that you can view them. You can chat with myself, your host, Lindsay, if there's anything during this session that will further support your viewership using the Q&A feature, which is also found on your Zoom toolbar. Before we begin, I would like to start with a land acknowledgement and an African ancestral acknowledgement. So we acknowledge we are hosted on the lands of the Mississaugas of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Wendat. We also recognize the enduring presence of all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit peoples. I will now read an African ancestral acknowledgement. We acknowledge the Indigenous Africans who were forcefully removed from their native lands and dispersed across the New World. This involuntary migration heavily contributed to the movement of African-descended people across the African diaspora to places like Canada. As students and learners, we deem it highly necessary to think deeper and examine the processes that led to the dispossession of Indigenous peoples on this land and settler colonialism. Stolen people on stolen land. In entering a conversation about anti-Black racism, it is important to center the humanity of Black children and Black families and to examine the systems, such as the education system, that act upon them. And this acknowledgement is taken from Natasha Henry Dixon, who's the former president of the Ontario Black History Society. At this time, I would like to turn it over to our centrally assigned principal, Jeffrey Caton, to bring a few words of greeting.
Well, good morning, everybody. And on behalf of the TDSB and on behalf of the Center of Excellence for Black Student Achievement, I'd like to say welcome to this wonderful, amazing event. We're being hosted by Itah Sadu and the reading of I Am Big. I'm very happy to announce and say that we have hundreds of classrooms across the TDSB taking part in this amazing event. It is African Heritage Month. We are on February 2nd, the second day of African Heritage Month, and I know that there are many events and things taking place in your classrooms and across the system, and this is just but one of the things that we have available. I really want to thank the staff for signing up and for the students and school communities for taking part, and I wish you a wonderful day and a wonderful time listening to the story I Am Big by Itah Sadu.
Good morning, all the beautiful people in the Toronto District School Board. I hope after the count of three, you are just going to make some noise. Today is Friday, February the 2nd, 2024. Oh, a lot of twos. Just look at that. 20, there's a two there, 2024, more twos coming at you. And I was sharing with some folks earlier on that if I had come on yesterday, it would have been like February the 1st, and it would felt like it was just one. I would be like all by myself. But today now it is exciting because, hey, I feel like it's the 2nd. So I'm joined by two. I'm creating numbers. So when the story is told, it will be said that the Center of Excellence for Black Student Achievement had this incredible event happening board-wide. I can't tell you, my heart is just like full with joy today. It makes me want to say, this little light of mine, I hope you're singing it with me. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. The audience is singing it in the studio. That's so good. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Now, all over the world, here we going now. All over the world, I'm gonna let it shine. All over the world, I'm gonna let it shine. You can't be big. All over the world, yeah. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. And let's go big over Canada now. Here we go. All over Canada, I'm gonna let it shine. All over Canada, I'm gonna let it shine. All over Canada, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Ooh, how sweet it is making some noise. And you know what is a special thing about Black History Month, about African Heritage Month? It is a beautiful season. They say there's a season to plant, and there's a season of harvest. There's a season to dance, and there's a season to stand still. There is a season to have joy, and there's a season of sadness. But this season is called Black History Month, African Heritage Month. And the cool thing about this season is this. Black History Month, African Heritage Month is magical. It's magical. Do you know why it is magical, students in the Toronto District School Board? It is magical because sometimes the month comes with 28 days. And another time the month says, voila, here I am, I'm 29. That's the beauty of Black History Month. It could drop it like it's hot every time. 28, I hear somebody say, and like this year, it is 29. And the cool thing too about Black History Month and African Heritage Month, it is that other months looked at that month and said, we want some of that. And so other months, they stepped up to the plate and they began to name themselves all kinds of names. That is the power and the capacity of Black History Month. May Black History Month live forever. And right now, I'm going to do a little something. I want to thank Carter G. Woodson for thinking of this big idea. In 1926, he said, let's have a week. And then the vision got bigger because today we're talking about big, yeah. And all you students in the Toronto District School Board, and even students wherever you are within the sound of my voice, you are the big idea. And then in 1976, it became a month because the vision got bigger. And this was taking place in the USA. But right here in Canada, right here in the city of Toronto, there was a man, and his name was Stanley Grizzle. I'm going to show you what he looked like. Stanley Grizzle. He lived in this neighborhood. I knew him. I've shaken his hand, and you know what? I promised I would never wash their hand. You know, I'm telling a story right now. Yes, I washed my hands because we had COVID. There you go. But Stanley Grizzle, he lived in this neighborhood. He was born in 1918, and he lived to 2016. And he lived here in this neighborhood at Bathurst in Bloor at 63 Palmerston Boulevard. And in the 1950s, check it out, the 1950s, he had a week called Negro History Week. So look at that, another man with a vision. And so today, when we talk about big, we're talking about people who had vision. We're talking about when you're sitting in the classroom thinking, I have an idea. When you wake up in the morning, I am sure that so many things come into your mind. When you're sleeping at night, I know that you have all kinds of dreams about doing cool things, finding a cure for a disease, maybe jumping over the CN Tower, maybe being the best ball player ever, maybe designing something that, the world has never even seen yet. All these things make up the big idea and the bigness in this world. And so I am so excited this morning to talk to you here in Black History Month. And I got to tell you a little something that is happening. So just in case you don't know, I'm going to bring you up to speed. This year, Canada Post has placed Mary Ann, oh my gosh, students in the Toronto District School Board, I heard you so loud say Mary Ann Shad. Oh, did you say Shad? Of course you did. Mary Ann Shad, and she is on the Souvenir Black History Month stand. And so when you are doing your assignments or when you go to the post office, you can buy some of her special stamps. You can mail something special to a friend. You could even mail it to a grandparent. You could even send a note or mail something to the principal of your school. You could mail it to students at another school somewhere else in the world. But that letter would have the stamp of Mary Ann Shad. And some people might say, well, who is she talking about? It's like, is Mary Ann Shad related to her or something? Mary Ann Shad was a woman who came to Canada through the time of slavery. She was born in 1823, and she soon became part of Canadian history. And she started a newspaper here in Canada. She started a newspaper here in what we now call the province of Ontario. And in that newspaper, she brought the news to the people. She talked about the rights of people, the rights of women. And the newspaper was called the Provincial Freeman. And that made Mary Ann Shad the first woman to publish a newspaper here in this mighty country of Canada or in this province of Ontario. And as she got older, she had a bigger vision. She thought, I want to do more to help people. And so she became a lawyer and she would defend people. And I love to see pictures of her as she rode her horse up and down the place. So here was this woman called Mary Shad. She came up here from slavery and born in 1823. She soon became part of Canadian history. Mary Shad, Mary Shad, Mary Shad, you make me feel so glad. Mary Shad, Mary Shad, Mary Shad. I say, woman, you're bad. Yeah. Woo. So there is that. So Canada Post has presented her in 2024. And I'm going to say something huge and big now. 2024 is the last year of the decade, of the International Decade of African Peoples. And so that is even sweeter that she has appeared on the stand. And now I got to give you another little heads up. This is real cool too. There is a young brother in the city, and his name is Kwame Delfish. And again, when we dream, when we have ideas, when we have thoughts, what are we going to do with them? How many people right now in the TDSB, put your hands up. If you dream to becoming a great visual artist, you're going to paint things that will hang in museums, that will hang in city places, that people will say, wow, that is some serious art. Ooh, look at all the hands going up. Look at all those hands going up. People dreaming of how they're going to reimagine and redesign the world. Well, there's a young brother, a young man, and his name is Kwame Delfish. There you go. And Kwame Delfish, he has designed three coins for the Royal Canadian Mint. Just imagine that you have a coin in your hand and you think, I know the person that did the design on it? How exciting is that? The first coin he did was of the map of Canada, where he got to interpret, where he got to present, where he got to put things that was part of his experience of a young Black man born and living in this country on that coin. How sweet is that? Just imagine somebody saying to you, come here, design this coin. Put yourself on the coin. Put your community on the coin. Put the things that you love. Put the things that Canadians hold dear on the coin. What an awesome privilege that is. The second coin he designed was a coin that showed the experience of the underground. Oh, TDSB students, you are ahead of me. You already said railroad. I hadn't even got there yet. Yes, he designed a second coin, the Underground Railroad. Just imagine somebody coming to you and say, here is a coin. It's a blank coin, but I want you to put your family's history on it. You do that in class, where teachers say to you, make this thing up, make up a map, make up a flag, put your stamp on it. That's what Kwame Delfish did. And now today, his third coin. Oh my gosh, like when does this guy ever sleep? Like, hey, dude, what are you doing? He has designed a third coin. And on that third coin, he has now presented the number 2 Construction Battalion. This is a group of soldiers that fought in World War II and represented Canada. So here, 1, 2, 3 coins. So when we talk about untold stories, and untold stories sometimes that are happening right now, that's one of the untold stories that is happening right now. The design of these 3 incredible coins. I want you to go out and I want you to purchase one. I want you to order one. You can order them through the post office. You should have them in your class. You could even so kind of design them. And I want you to think, what coin will you design that will represent you, your community, your school, the culture that you come out of, and all the things that you hold dear, and the values of what we hold as Canadians. Isn't that cool? Oh, that is just awesome and cool. So I wanted to give you a little bit of heads up in this month of all the great things that are happening. How are we doing so far? Is everybody good? We're so good. How is the audience here in the studio? Are you good? What? There you go. And that audience is a real audience because, you know, sometimes the audience is a trap. You know, you push a little button, everybody go, but today, this audience is live and direct. And we're going to talk about a couple of things today. And of course, I know that you are all looking forward to talk about this book, I Am Big. There are 503 of you. Look at that, 503 of you listening to me right now. That is an incredible honor. And I must take this opportunity to say this, that I don't take it lightly, that you have invited me into your classrooms. You have invited me into your hearts. You are using the 2 drums on your bodies right now, the eardrum to listen, but you will receive the stories with the heart. Ooh, that's the other drum. How sweet this is. Did somebody say, oh yeah? Somebody say yeah. And I want you to write your questions into the chat, or the teachers will facilitate that, or whatever. But we're going to have a conversation going. Now, when you talk about sports, let's talk about sports for a little bit. How many people here that are listening to me today love sports? Put your hands up. Say, I love sports. How many people love to play volleyball? How many people love to play soccer? And don't you love when soccer, World Cup cricket comes around? Ooh, the whole city comes alive. People are driving in their cars. They have the flags of their nations on the cars. People are reenacting the goals and the plays on the street. Score! Oh my gosh. People congregate at bars and restaurants, and the conversation is all about the beautiful game called soccer. Ooh, we call it football, but you know what? We will stay on soccer so we don't get a whole bunch of other people confused. But when World Cup Cup soccer takes place, it is like a magnet. It is like jam. It is sweet. It is wonderful. People get together and they celebrate sport. How many people here are baseball fans? How many people here are Blue Jay fans? Ooh, I remember when the Blue Jays won the World Series. I don't know about you. You probably weren't even born yet. So I'm going to tell you. I was driving in a car and I was driving along the Allen Expressway and I was listening to the game on the radio. Oh my gosh. And you could hear the whole country of Canada. Everybody in Canada, they were listening with the eardrum and they were listening with the heart. You could hear this hush come across this incredible country from east to west, from north to south. And ooh, the Blue Jays were at the plate. Lamar. I can't even remember half the people right now, but it was a real kind of cool time. And when, we hit that home run out of the park and the Blue Jays won the World Series, the entire nation of Canada screamed their heads off. It wasn't that the Blue Jays was a Toronto team, and this was a Toronto moment. This wasn't a moment just about the province of Ontario. This was a moment that all Canadians could celebrate because we had won the World Series. We had taken out all those teams out of the USA and we were the champions. Ooh, how sweet it is. And when I was driving along that Allen Expressway, all the cars were honking. Oh my God, we started to tailgate. The music, people turned down their windows and the music just spilled out. And people would say, "We are the champions." Oh, there was so much love. That's the joy and the beauty and the power of sports. And how many people are Raptors fans? Oh my gosh. Do you remember when we won the NBA? Oh my gosh. It was unreal. It was just unreal. When that ball went when Kawhi threw that, and it went like, oh my gosh, our hearts were beating so fast. Like, please don't let me have a heart attack. Oh my gosh, get that ball in. And the whole country, once again, not just Toronto, not just the province of Ontario, but the entire country screamed for the Raptors as one. Nelson Mandela, when he wanted to address apartheid in the aftermath of apartheid, after the apartheid period, he thought long and hard about a way of bringing the country together, where people could feel good, where people could interact with each other and intersect with each other. And Nelson Mandela, he went to the world of sports. He went to the world of soccer. And so he said to the nation, I want you to have girls and boys and they and everybody. I want you to have them play soccer. I want you to play soccer in your backyards, play it in your community, play it in your schools, play it at the professional level. And that game of soccer, ooh, it was like magic. It brought people together. And people began to relax. That's the power of sports. Sports is about overcoming. I remember my parents and my grandparents telling me when the great boxer Jack Johnson won for the first time the boxing match, ooh, how proud Black people were. It brought us together. That's the power of sports. And so when I wrote the book, I Am Big, I too was thinking about the power of sports, because when we read things about sports, sport uplifts us. It makes us think that we are invincible. We can do mighty things. Yay. How many people too are fans? Because sports, you gotta have fans. Everybody's a player, but you gotta have fans. And fans also play a role. They cheer you on. Fans are like parents. They're cheering you on. Fans are like teachers. They're cheering you on. Fans are like the principal, cheering you on. Fans are like the people who live in your community, who see you every single day, and they cheer you on. And they cheer you on by saying things like, how was school today? What did you learn? Who are your friends? What are their names? Ooh, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? What about science? These are the people who cheer you on. So if you are not a sports person, if you're not somebody who is going to long jump, high jump, throw the javelin, the shot put, all of those kind of things, run track and field, the 1500, but you are a fan, good on you, because sports need fans. And students, remember this. Everybody in the world have a role to play, and there's always a role to play for every single person in the world. Now, something just hit my imagination, and I feel like I need to tell you. Should I tell you? Should I tell you? Oh my God. Okay, I'm going to tell you anyway. Some years ago, I went to a country, and this country is called Barbados. And I went to a sports day. And I went to visit my friend, and she's a coach, phys ed coach in Barbados. So there I was with her school, and I'm cheering away for her team. Now, in her school, there was one guy, and that boy, he was a 1,500-meter runner, and he was the best on the island, absolute best on the island. And he was slated to win gold that day. Gold. And so the whole school was excited. Oh, he was going to win gold. And every time he walked by, people would say, hey, you got that. You are the gold medal winner. You got this, like you're good to go. Well, in the lead up to the final game, oh, he did well. He did well in the heats. Oh, he placed first, effortlessly. When he hit the finish line, the other runners were just coming behind him, and he looked fresh. Ooh, boyfriend, he was like on point that day. And so it was time for his race. And so he went to the line, and the person said, take your mark, get set, go, woo. And down the track they went. And oh, the school was cheering for this brother. Go, 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 Garson, go. Oh, and we were cheering. And boy, he was blazing down the track. The people who sold the candies in the stadium, oh, they were cheering. The parents who were listening and watching on television right across the nation of Barbados, they too were cheering. Every single person in the stadium, it looked as though they were cheering for this guy because he was so far in front of everyone. You had to just cheer him on. And he was blazing down that 1,500 meter. And all the people behind him, they were struggling hard to keep up with him. And then suddenly something happened. Something happened. He began to slow down. Ooh, the ladies who were selling the candies, the people who were selling the drinks and the food and the snacks, they stopped. The people who were the commentators, the people who were the coaches, the other people who were playing sports, they sort of looked a little bit, and they too froze as the brother started slowing down. What was wrong? Was he ill? Was there something wrong with his foot? Was it something wrong with his body? What was happening? Did he have another way of running that we didn't know? Like, what was happening here? He's just slowed down. And all of a sudden, that little brother did something that no one in the whole wide world had ever seen before. It was never seen before by anybody. People wearing glasses or not wearing glasses has ever seen this thing before. I had never seen this thing before, but we saw him slow down. And all of a sudden, he leaned over. No one had ever seen that happen in a race before. And he leaned over, and he bent over, and he picked up his shoelaces, and he tied his shoelaces in the middle of the race. And all the other members of the race, they all went shoo, 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 shoo. They all passed him. And he was still tying his shoelaces. Nobody in the whole wide world had ever seen a runner in the middle of a race stop and tie their shoelaces. Now, I don't need to tell you that he came last. He didn't even happen in the race after that. And the whole school, their spirits were crushed because they were sure that that one little brother was going to bring home gold. To this very day, no one ever knew what happened there. Why did he stop? Why did he panic? Was his shoes slack? Did he think he was going to trip on his laces? Why did he not tie his laces better before he started? But that was one of the craziest things I've ever seen in sports. Sometimes in sports, you might score on your team. You know, that is not good. But sometimes in sports, great things happen, like you excel and you overcome. But that little brother that day, he stayed in my imagination because I had never seen anybody in the middle of a race stop and tie their shoelaces. Have you? What moment have you ever seen in sports that was so crazy that you thought, wow? It also reminded me about when I was a kid too in Barbados and when I ran races and there was a family who was really fast and they ran races, but you couldn't win the race. They always had to win first. And if they didn't come first, they would beat you up. And so every time that you were getting to the finish line, you would start to slow down. So you'd be third because you didn't want to get beat up. Now, how crazy is that crazy, right? I'm just only saying. I'm just only saying. So those are some of my experiences looking at the world of sports. But then I listen to, as a storyteller and as an author, it is my job to listen to what people say, the things that are in a society. That's what artists do. We look at a society and then we present, then we comment, then we portray, then we express the sentiment of the society. And so I was fascinated that I would go places and people would say, my son is in hockey, but he's having an awful time. The other day I took him to hockey and he sat the whole time and he never got to play. The coach just benched him the whole time. Why I taking the boy to hockey when he didn't get to play? Oh gosh. And I would just hear this over and over again about young Black boys showing up to hockey, full of vigor, full of zest, ready to go, ready to give their A game, but being benched. And then on some occasions, I would hear other students say, oh, the people in the arena or in the stadium, they were yelling at me. You're a bully. Hey, don't crush my son. Ooh. Name calling. Could you imagine that? Who does that? Name calling. I know there's no name calling in your school. And I know if there is, that you are working hard to stamp that out. So I would listen all the time to people talk, especially people of African descent, Black people, about their challenges in hockey. And that hurt my heart. And now I would meet grown men who would say, oh, I wanted to be a hockey player. I knew I was going to be really good, but I was too big in size. When I first wrote I Am Big, and I wrote my draft copy, yes, students, when teachers say to you, give me a draft, it's not your final copy, right? It's your draft. So when I wrote my first copy, my draft, I called up an educator about 11 p.m. and I read my draft to him. I felt confident enough I could share that story with someone outside of my home. And after I read the story at 11 p.m. to an educator in the Toronto District School Board, this is what happened next on the telephone. I heard crying. He was sobbing. And I thought, I didn't call him at 11 p.m. to cry. Why is he crying? And this is what he said to me. Itah, and I'm telling you exactly how he said it. I am looking right now at my big Jamaican belly. And I am thinking, when I was a kid, I was big in size. I was good in hockey, but they would put me down all the time about my size. They made me feel like I was a bully. I was afraid to even get close to players because people would make me feel I was a bully. But then I would look at white hockey players and think, but they're bigger. Some of them are bigger than I am. But they didn't seem to have the pressure of being big in size. So here it was, the power of story, the power of sports, that an educator, a grown man, was reliving moments of his childhood where he knew he could excel, but was discouraged because of his size. Wow. So I got tired of hearing parents speak about their children being discouraged. I got tired of hearing students speak about it themselves. But young people, I got to say this to you. I also know that there are students who often said, "Hey, coach, why are you benching our best player? Why is he on the bench and not playing in the game?" You see, students, you use your voice to advocate on behalf of each other. We encourage you to do that. Whenever you see an injustice, you speak up and speak out. So I know that there are so many of you that have challenged coaches, have challenged people, and said, "This is our best player. Why are you benching that player? We're never going to win the game if that player isn't playing." Wow. Speaking truth to power isn't easy, but it is necessary and has to be done. And then a beautiful woman came into my life and her son. And I was fascinated at the amount of time that she spent driving him to hockey games. In the morning, 2 o'clock, all kinds of crazy hours. Every time that we worked together, she was always somewhere going to take him to hockey. It was all about hockey. Hockey had just consumed his world and his life. But at the same time, I also noted that this parent didn't really enjoy going to the hockey games, because when she got there, she became anxious for her son. She thought, maybe someone is going to harm him today. Maybe they're going to bench him today. Maybe the people are going to scream at him today. Maybe something awful is going to happen. And so she wasn't enjoying the game. Her son must have thought, "Oh my gosh, my mom worked so hard. My parents worked so hard. And they do so much for me to participate in this game that I love. But I'm also adding so much stress onto them that they are not enjoying the game. They're spending time videotaping the game just to make sure that I am safe and that I am protected." Who wants to go to a sports game of any kind and not enjoy the game? So these are the things that I thought about as I was approaching writing I Am Big. And then suddenly the sports world in the time of George Floyd wanted to do things differently. In the time of Black Lives Matter, wanted to do things differently. And so the sports world began to look at itself internally. How can we change? How can we change sports? How can we change sports in Canada? I am wearing right now a Maple Leafs jersey. And on that jersey, it says something like power, courage, and determination. So the sports industry was asking themselves, how can we change? How can we be better? And here again, I began to think about this story, I Am Big. I began to think about people like, Herb Carnegie, who was a great hockey player, but he never ever got to play in the NHL or play with the superstars of hockey, but he was exceptional as a hockey player. I got to think about people like Willie O'Ree. And every time that I have met that man, he has such quiet dignity that I think of a person who went through so much in that sport to excel. Oh my gosh. And today he still can carry himself with grace. I thought about PK Subban. And all the excitement that he brought to us as Canadians, as Torontonians, when he played in the NHL. I thought about Wayne Simmons. I thought about so many people in the game. And all these things led me to write this book, I Am Big. But most importantly, I thought about the parents of children. I thought about the things Black parents say to their children. You are mighty. You are strong. You are confident. You are good at what you can do. You can do it. You got this. We're behind you. We're pushing you on. Yeah, I thought about what Black parents do each and every day, instilling confidence in their children, sometimes consciously or unconsciously. I thought about the spirit of community, all those events that we go to, and people say, I love you. Come here, let me give you a hug. How are things? Oh, I can see your future will be bright. I thought about those individuals too. And I thought about the word big. You can have a big idea, you can have a big thought. But if you are big in size, are you a challenge in the society? I had to think about that. And I had to think in particular about Black boys. When you are big, are you a challenge in society? Is that still a stereotype that is walking around? Well, somebody got to stop that stereotype from walking around. And so in COVID, every single day, as I would walk up and down the street on my daily walk, I would think about hockey. I would think about this young boy whose mother worked so hard to take him all these places to be part of this game of hockey, but she really wasn't enjoying the game. I thought about the educator. I thought about so many people that I know who would have done so well in this game of sports, an expensive game, a game that takes a lot of time and is very demanding. I thought about all those things. And so I wrote this story. And every single day, as I walked up and down the street, I would say it at the top of my voice over and over again. And then I went out and I found an incredible young, brilliant woman. Her name is Marley Barrett. And I invited her to be the illustrator. And she became the illustrator of I Am Big, published by Second Story Press. So to all of you students too, who have embraced this book, who have loved it up, who are sharing it in your classrooms, who are sharing it in your school, from me to you, this is the moment. I am 9 years old and I am a little kid, but I am big in size. How can you be small and big all at the same time? What do you see when you see me? Small and big, or big and small? My mother says, I am mighty. That's big. My father says, I am strong. And an awesome big feeling comes over me, like the feeling of freedom, as I skate and fly with speed, lining up my play behind the puck on my way to the goal. But big can be bad. For a boy, a big boy, and dangerous too for a big Black boy. Hey you, don't crush my son. Look at his size. He's dangerous. Coach, remove that bully. I skate, avoiding the boards and the hits, and I shout, PK Subban, Jewel Ward, how did you make big cool? Hey you, people in the arena, what do you see? What do you see when you see me? Small and big, big and small, big Black boy. The rink is ice. Ice is water. Water is oceans, and oceans are really, really big. The ice washes away all the small thinking in the arena. And in that moment, I am a little drop of water, moving to a ripple, about to be a wave when I land the goal. A player skates across my path. He is bigger, but everyone is quiet. I have seen him before. I have seen his play. I know his game. What happens when big meets bigger? Everyone is quiet. Never once taking my eyes off the target, I look to the goal, time to score. I skate with grace, straight at the goalie. His eyes are clear. He does not see a bully. He sees big style. He sees big skill. He sees me. I hear Coach yell, you are the big idea. My family shouts, You are mighty. You are strong. Their voices grow louder. They fill me up. I am unstoppable. I am in a dance with the goalie, never once letting my eyes waver like Willie O'Ree, who came before me. You got this, my sister shouts. Go for it, screams my brother. And I sink the puck into the goal. Score, my family shouts. Goal, my team cheers. The arena erupts. And in that moment, and in that moment, and in that moment, I truly feel beautiful. I am big and black. Yeah. So to all those beautiful Black boys out there, I hope you feel beautiful and big and black every time that you go on that ice. And to all your team, the members of our team, I thank you too for often reminding the adults in the room that you may be the best player, that you have potential, that you have skill. And to those parents and people sitting in the arena, when you hear the name calling, when you hear things that should not be heard by children to crush their spirits or by anybody, I hope you put that look on your face like, I hope you shut up right now or stop saying that stuff, because that is not good for everyone. So I'm looking forward now to all the chat in the room and all the questions that you have to ask me. I see Jeff, who is my right-hand person or left-hand person this morning, is making his way back to sit on his chair and to take the computer away from me. But to you, the students of the Toronto District School Board, today, February the 2nd, I've had an awesome time with you. So much great stuff is happening in this month, a magical month. That can be 28 days, and on a good year, it can be 29. And a month that says to other months, follow me no, and those other months are saying, I want to be like you. I want to be named like you, because you have set an awesome template. Black History Month, African History Month, 2024, enough respect.
Definitely a round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Itah. I'm going to, if you have a moment, there's a couple of questions, but one that I would like to share with you, and we'll see how our timing goes. So the first one is from a grade 1 student, and they're asking, how many books have you written?
I lost track of that. Oh, I've lost track of that, but I think there are about 8 of them, 8 or 9 of them.
Okay. Awesome. And the next question is that we know that there's a lot of students in our schools that are writing their own stories. So if students are writing picture books, what are some of the things they need to know in terms of process that they need to import? Yeah.
Well, one of the beautiful things about writing is the storytelling that precedes it. So I encourage students to tell the story. Just tell the story. Like you're speaking to your friend. Just tell the story. Write it down. Don't edit it. Don't get it grammatically right. Don't do those things. Just write it down as though you are having a conversation on the page. Do that. And that's the way to go. And then visualize the story. What's happening at the beginning? How we transition it? What's the next scene? What's the third scene? So it's almost like a little film in your head. And you're writing these segments in the story. And where are you going to land in the story? You don't want a story to be kind of like a moral preachy kind of story. You know, you want to shy away from that. But I am very excited that students are writing, increasingly writing their stories. I say go for it. Jump off the cliff. Just do it. Just do it. Be conversational. Give us the juice. You know, give us the juice. Give us you. Give us your voice. Don't tell us what somebody else has said. Don't go to another book and think, well, okay, this is the template for me to write. Write what is in you. What's right is what is in your spirit, is in your heart. Do it over and over. Remember this, student. Some days I don't like my editor. Like you might not like your teacher when they say to you, like, you know, you got to do it again. But that's the first draft. And then you've got to write the second draft. Oh man, this teacher is stressing me out. Then you've got to write the third draft. It only makes it better. It takes a book almost 3 years to get to the marketplace. So just imagine I've written this thing. I feel all good about it. Pardon me, and it is, and it goes to the publisher. And then the publisher says it's going to take like 2 more years before I can see the book. And in that time, you're refining, you're editing, you're getting it right. So students, it is not a race, but it is a process. And I want you to be real on that page. I want you to be very original with your idea. And I don't want you to go to read something else. I want you to write what is in your imagination on that page and to see it like a film and a series of events.
Thank you so much. I think in your answer, you touched on so many other questions in terms of inspiration, the amount of time it takes going into writing a book, and as you said, getting it to the publisher and getting it out there. So I think at this time, I'm going to invite our centrally assigned principal to come and close us out. So thank you again, Itah, for your wonderful storytelling, your book, and again, sharing a bit of insights to our questions.
Thank you, Lindsay. And thank you to the Center of Excellence for Black Student Achievement and to the Toronto District School Board.
Well, that was amazing. I really would like to thank Itah for giving us a history lesson. We went from Marianne Shad, an important Canadian icon with a postage stamp, through to local history and untold stories of Stanley Grizzle, through to the current Kwame Delfish, an artist shaping the world that we have today through coin and art, and then also through a journey through sport. The amazing stories that adults and children and students here can relate to, whether it's the Toronto Blue Jays, to boxing, to the love that I have, track and field in particular. Love to hear the stories, not just here in Canada, but also in the Caribbean and from around the world. I also like to thank Itah as we got to hear the inspiration for the book, hearing from community, hearing from families about the experiences of children playing hockey, young boys in particular playing hockey and being discouraged. And important, giving you an opportunity to interrupt, knowing that as young people, you have the power to make change. I'd also like to thank Itah for sharing with us the names of groundbreaking hockey players, Black hockey players. These are stories that are often untold, but are increasingly being told. And finally, students, you got the inside scoop on making a book from the author, right? Isn't that amazing? You can take what you've learned, create your own stories, share your stories with your classmates, with your school, and the whole entire world, because we have the ability to do that now. So thank you very much, Itah. Thank you, everybody who has joined us today for this amazing presentation and hearing the reading of I Am Big. What an amazing story, what a relatable story. And we'd like to close out at this point by saying thank you to all the staff and community that are joining us here this morning. What a wonderful way to start our day.
Again, and finally, thank you, everyone. If you're looking for more information and resources, please feel free to visit our website. The link has been posted in the chat, and we implore you to join us for our upcoming programming. Thank you. Take care.
Thanks. They were great ones.